Hello friends, welcome back to Microphonic Designs. Now I know it's been quite a while since I have uploaded a video, kind of ghosted you guys, and I'm so sorry. Life just sort of took over. I really was trying to do the vlog thing for the entire season, but it was just going to be too much. I mean, between having a toddler and, like a family and just the amount of work that was piled onto my plate, it just got crazy. But I'm back now, and I have gone through a pretty gnarly cold about a month ago. I've had this cough that won't go away, but I'm ready to get back to making videos. I got my tea with me today. I've got an inhaler because it's just this cough is pretty rough. And a Facebook memory popped up recently from 6 years ago, from the very first audio system installation I did here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that got me really thinking about sort of the beginnings of how I started doing all this type of stuff. And I got to thinking about sort of telling my story and kind of telling you all out there how I got to do what I do, basically. And I do get asked that question sometimes by younger college students or even younger band directors or just folks that are interested. And so, like I said, I just thought that this would be a good way to get back into making some videos for the channel and letting you all get to know me a little bit better. So my story really starts as far back as I can remember. My mother was a band director when I was growing up. And I mean, some of my earliest memories are of being with marching band programs, going to the competitions, to the trips and all that stuff. I mean, rehearsals. So I've been around band, marching band in particular, for a very, very long time. Like I said, as far back as I can remember. And of course, when I got to high school, I did high school marching band, and I've done drum corps and all that stuff since. But let's just start with the sort of high school area, which is really where it starts for me. When I was in 8th grade, I saw a video of a scratch DJ doing the Star Wars theme on his 2 turntables, and it was one of the craziest things that I had ever seen. It blew my mind. And so that year for Christmas, my parents actually bought me it was from a company called Newmark. It was a Battle DJ turntable set, and it had a cheap little 2-channel mixer. It had 2 belt drive turntables, and we went to the record shop, and I picked out a couple of records, and I went from there. And I stuck with doing the scratch DJ stuff for a while until I really got into doing drumline, and then like wanting to march GCI really took over my focus. But doing the DJ stuff really got me interested in pro audio, to begin with. So when it came time to start looking at colleges to go to and all that, we found out about a school called Full Sail University. They had a recording arts program. I remember we went and took a tour, and I was sold. It was just the coolest thing ever. That's what I wanted to do. And so 2 weeks after my high school graduation, I started my first online class at Full Sail. A month later, I moved down to campus, and then I did the entire program all like in the condensed version. So it was like 2 classes a month for, I think it was like 21 or 22 months. It was a very intense program of like just really being immersed in audio. Really, the foundation of my audio skills was my time at Full Sail. I do have an actual college degree in audio stuff, engineering, basically. During the last few months of my time in college, I started auditioning and preparing for auditions for Crossman, and I got a contract. And so I think a month or 2 after I graduated college, I marched Crossman for a summer. I moved to Austin, Texas, and after the summer of 2013, I taught drumline and did the whole drumline tech thing. Went and marched my age out summer with Crossman again in 2014. And then in late 2014, I moved up to Ohio so I could age out of the marching activity as a whole with Matrix Performing Arts. And then finally, after I aged out and did all the marching band I could possibly want to do, I went back to Crossman and actually worked as the audio technician on the road. And so the summer of 2015 was really my very first like marching audio job, where I was there to run the audio system on a day-to-day basis. And at the time, I had no idea what I was doing really in terms of knowing how audio applies to the marching arts, because when I was a member, I didn't even really pay attention to the fact that we had speakers and like a sound system and all this. So when I went back, I had a lot to learn, and that summer was rough for me, just in general, I didn't have a very good time being on staff at Crossman. It wasn't because I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was actively learning that summer, but there were some other things that kind of deterred me from wanting to come back. And when I got home from tour that summer, I started helping a couple schools in the Austin area. I was working at Guitar Center at the time. I remember consulting with an indoor group called Rhythmic Force, and I helped out at Hutto High School a little bit. I remember spending some time with the Texas State University marching band. So I was sort of doing some consulting and all that, but not too much. I was still trying to just find my way in life. Like I was graduated college, couldn't march DCI anymore, was working at Guitar Center, was just figuring things out. I actually took some time off of work from Guitar Center to help a really, really awesome person. His name's Bill Olson. He started a company called Drumslinger Percussion, and so I went to PASIC with him in late 2015. That was when they had it in San Antonio, and I helped run his little booth. He makes, or made at the time, I think he's still running it, boutique practice pads. And it was at that PASIC in 2015 where I was introduced to the guys that work at Lone Star Percussion. I got to know them a little bit at that show. They got to know me like a very little bit. They knew that, I had just done audio for Crossman, and that's kind of the type of work I was looking to do. So I got a call in, I think it was January, from the guys at Lone Star, and they were looking for an extra person to help out with their very new marching audio booth at TMEA in early 2016. I went and worked with them for that weekend, and that was sort of my de facto interview with those guys, but I didn't end up doing much with them for a while. As we got closer to the summer of 2016, I got a call from Rob Ferguson to come on tour with Phantom Regiment as the day-to-day audio technician, and I had a much, much better time at Phantom Regiment being on staff and having a better understanding of what I was doing, and really the summer of 2016 for me was where the lights started to turn on, where I really started to understand some of the stuff that we do in marching audio. And I have a huge part of that is thanks to Evan Brown and Lloyd Puckett, because both of those guys are pretty well established audio guys in the marching arts, and they were both working at Phantom at the time, and I got to learn from both of them, and it was excellent. Suffice it to say, I had a really great time in 2016, learned a lot, got much, much better at doing marching audio. I think towards finals week, maybe a week or two out from DCI finals that year, I got a call from one of the managers at Lone Star, and he basically said, hey, our audio guy is moving on to other opportunities for his family, and it'd be cool if you came and did an interview with us. So when I got off the road with Phantom Regiment in 2016, got back to Texas, I drove up to Dallas, did an official interview with Lone Star, and was hired as one of the sales reps to basically specialize and focus on the audio stuff. So I moved up to Dallas, DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, from Austin very shortly after the 2016 DCI tour concluded, and I started working at Lone Star, and my position was supposed to eventually evolve into doing basically what I do now, full-time marching audio stuff, but for Lone Star, and that never really ended up happening. I basically stayed as a regular sales rep, answering the phone and doing just about everything that job could entail, but all of the information and calls that came in about marching audio stuff would get filtered to me. And it was during these first few months of living in Dallas that I really started to get some steam going as far as finding marching band clients and working with actual, more high schools and stuff. In fact, the memory that popped up on Facebook for me was with Louisville High School. It was the very first audio system installation that I had ever done, a complete system install for a school, and that was 6 years ago, just about 6 years ago from the recording of this video. So pretty cool to see where it's come. But big shout out to my great friend Quion Murphy, who had me out, as a super green, super new person to doing all that type of work. I started picking up clients and doing more and more consulting for high school programs, really because of my job at Lone Star, where, because I was answering the phone, and Lone Star Percussion was sort of the place for all the locals to go for their stuff. I got to know all the percussion directors pretty well from just working the phones there at Lone Star. And so, through conversations and all of that, I would get invited or asked to come out to schools and help out with the audio. That sort of led me to actually forming and coming up with the name Microphonic Designs and forming an LLC and all that in very early 2018. In January of 2018, I formed the LLC, got a company bank account set up and all that good stuff, and really started doing as much marching audio work as I could in between my full-time job at Lone Star Percussion. And because I was working retail, I wasn't exactly able to take weeks and weeks off during the summertime to go do audio work for any DCI groups. So 2016 was really my last time being on the road with a drum corps doing audio stuff, simply because of the job that I had, working retail basically. So I worked at Lone Star Percussion for about 4 years. And as you all know, in 2020, we got hit with the COVID pandemic. Everything got shut down. It was crazy. I did, however, happen to meet the absolute love of my life, who I now have a child with, and we have a very happy home and a very happy family. And it was really thanks to her that I was just in a really great spot in life, and I basically gathered the courage to cash in all of my vacation time to take some time away from Lone Star, to think about what I wanted to do. And I think it was early November of 2020, a little over 2 years ago from the recording of this video, I resigned from my position at Lone Star to pursue Microphonic Designs as a full-time endeavor. And because we were in the midst of a pandemic, it really was terrifying, not knowing when I would have a paycheck again, but I had a pretty big savings account ready to go to get me through those months. And when marching band started up again, really in full effect in spring of 2021, everything just kind of snowballed, and I was able to really run my company as a full-time marching audio consultant, coordinator, installation person, you name it. And that brings us to now in late 2022, where this year was even bigger for me than it was in 2021, which is why I wasn't really able to keep up with the vlogs. And, I'm working on answering the problem of, right now I have a seasonal business, and I'm working very hard actively to turn it into a year-round business, thanks in part to the space in the market that Lone Star Percussion opened up. To those who might not be up to speed, Lone Star Percussion, rest in peace, is now out of business, at least as of this recording. They are no longer operating. So there's a huge gap in the market in terms of a company that sells audio equipment specifically for marching band programs. So that's something that I'm working towards right now. And I think it's going to be great because I do have that extensive retail experience, but I also have extensive marching audio experience. So I'm going to try to merge those two things within my own company. And that's basically the story, though, of how I got to where I am today. It really started with just an interest in pro audio when I was in high school. Again, I happen to have been from a, musical household. I grew up around marching band, and it just I kind of found my way here. I didn't really look to do this type of work. It wasn't something that when I went to college, I was I'm going to do marching band audio, because that wasn't a thing yet. Really, the people that do what I do, as our full-time livings, we really only got into this stride a couple years ago, because before that, not enough schools were really using this stuff enough to warrant it being a full-time business, a full-time job. So my main advice to all of you out there that might want to look into this line of work, you have to know audio. You've got to know the basics of audio. You have to know the demands of a marching band program, and that encompasses a whole lot of things, but you've got to be familiar with band, and you've got to just work your way up. As with a lot of things, you don't start out having 100 clients right away. It starts out with one, probably your local high school program. Help get them going. do a good enough job for them that they tell their other director friends, and so on and so forth. Another way to sort of get into it, which is super new, is doing some work, some part-time work for a company like mine, where going into this next year, I'm probably going to have enough installation jobs booked where I need to hire help to help me get it all done in a time-efficient manner. So you can reach out to me. There's other marching audio professionals, especially here in Texas, that may also need some help. So if you're looking to get into doing this type of work, again, you can consider working for an already established company. But you also have to balance it out. So again, marching band is a seasonal thing. I think I usually really get started in May probably, and then as soon as November hits, like literally as soon as BOA San Antonio was done and UIL State was done, there's nothing on the books for a while. I don't do much WGI stuff, and that's including indoor percussion and winter guard. Like I've done this year like a single winter guard show, and I've got a high school and a middle school indoor percussion group that I do. But that doesn't cover the bills for the next 6 months, you know what I mean? So you have to also supplement it with other things. Again, in my case, I'm going to be entering the retail space pretty hardcore here soon. And for you, that might be doing sound design for other types of things like movies, or maybe you write music. So maybe you could do commercial music, or, it just could be a number of things where you apply the skills you have to other areas. And really, it's operating as a freelancer at that point. But if you're just getting started in marching audio, you're probably going to be operating as just a freelancer in the first place anyway. So that's about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are into marching audio at all. I've got some ideas for some more content going forward now that we're in the off season, and I'm working really hard to get rid of this weird chest cough that I have going on. But I've got some fun ideas that I think everyone will enjoy that involves a lot of audio system design for marching band. So look forward to that. Also, be sure to reach out if you are a band director yourself looking for audio equipment upgrades. Maybe you don't have an audio system for your program and you're looking to get one for the first time. Reach out because, like I said, Microphonic Designs does sell audio equipment. I am authorized and able to do that, and I would love to help you out. So please feel free to reach out if you have any of the above. But with that being said, my friends, take it easy, and I will see you in the next one.